Mets baseball on Locked Up Sports starts now.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Bob Walters. Mets get a big win last night. Just when you're about to throw in the towel and say, forget about it, they're dead, it's over. They're down 5-1. Peterson can't pitch. Well, they drag you right back in for a later heartbreak, and that's what happened last night. And listen, it was a fantastic win by the Mets. Best one all season, biggest one all season, and it was combined with a loss by the Reds to the Pirates. So the Mets are back in control of their own destiny, and it doesn't come any bigger than that. And they were, listen, at around 8:30 last night, the Mets were dead. They were buried. I know, at least I was basically saying it's over. I was wrong. This team is up and down, but they're more down than they are up. And then the comeback just started, and it was a wild game. The Mets got that fifth inning where the era opened the door. They got 5 unearned runs. They tied the game. Of course, the big blast in that inning was the Nimmo 3-run home run. And it couldn't have come at a better time. And Nimmo you got to give Nimmo credit. He's got 25 home runs, most home runs he's ever hit. And he hit that one in a big spot. And then, of course, later, back and forth they went. And in the 8th inning, Alvarez put the cap on it and gave the Mets the win with his biggest home run of his life. And, this team is just, I don't know what to make of this team. I really don't. I have no idea what to make of this team, because they look like world beaters some days, then they lose 2 out of 3 to the Nationals in a crucial spot. And then they come back and they're down big in Chicago against a good Cubs team, and they're able to rally, and they just get huge hits from guys who, like Alvarez, who was in the minors a month ago. And that's where Peterson needs to go too. But, Alvarez, just a huge home run, and couple that with the loss by the Reds to the Pirates, and just like that, the Mets are back in front. They control their own destiny. Magic number is 5. And are they going to get it? Are they going to get to 5? Who knows? You can't predict anything with this team. Just when you think they're dead and buried, they have a game like last night. Just when you think that things are coming around, and they after they lost 8 in a row, they won 4 out of 5, and they're playing well, they go and lose 2 out of 3 to the Nationals. It's just a team that you don't know what you're going to get day to day, inning to inning. I mean, they were dead, right? Peterson came out and was terrible yesterday. Peterson, he was as bad as it gets. He can't. Let me just bring up the Peterson thing here. Peterson cannot pitch again, I don't think, for the rest of the year. Now, what are you going to do when it looks like what the Mets are going to have to do when it comes to the playoffs? If they get there, if they get to that 5, that number of 5, the magic number, is they're going to have to just run these kids out there and hope for the best. Hope they catch lightning in a bottle. Hopefully these kids mature enough over this last month and a half, because when Peterson's going out there, who was a guy that I called an ace on this staff 2-3 months ago in the biggest game of the season, goes out there and gives you an inning and a third, 5 runs, 5 hits. He gets 1 strikeout, and he's out of there before he gets his 5th out. I mean, that's not only is that not an ace, that's not a major league pitcher. And he is just in a decline the entire season. He gave you some good outings early, but he has come up in some big spots, and he has come up small in every single one of those big spots. Every one. But then you look at the bullpen, which is such a problem, right? It's been such a problem. We tried to fix it at the trade deadline. They didn't fix it. They made it worse. And the Mets ended up throwing 7 pitchers last night, right? Was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Yeah, 8 pitchers. 8 pitchers last night to get through that 8 1/3 innings, or 7 1/3 innings that they needed. Because when you think about the Mets and you're like, okay, when their starters give them 4 runs, like, how's this bullpen going to get these 17, 18 outs? But, I mean, they needed 22 outs from the bullpen last night, and they got it, giving up only 2 runs. 6 innings from Diaz, who was just incredible. I'm sorry, 6 outs from Diaz, who was incredible. You had Tyler Rogers came in, not great, but Brooks Rallied went in there and saved his ass by getting a huge out in the 7th inning. He only pitched a third of an inning, but that was probably the biggest out of the game, was Brooks Rallied coming in for Rogers when he got into trouble. Soto pitched well. Stanek, Brazoban now his back seemed to be looking like he did in the beginning of the season. I was ready to throw Brazoban into the river in the middle of the season, send him down to the minors. He seemed to have straightened it out. He came back, and now he's been good lately. He gave up a run on a hit in 2 2/3 yesterday, but those are big innings. For him to come in the 2nd inning and to get you into the 4th inning, it was huge. And then Soto and Stanek, and they were able to stay away from Helsley too, which is important because you don't want to see Helsley in that game because he's the weak link in the bullpen. But again, just a fantastic win for the Mets, and they take the lead back from the Reds. And the Reds losing to the Pirates, that's a bad loss for the Reds, because you figure if we lose one game to the Pirates, we lose the Skeens game that he pitches. Okay, we can live with that. We take 2 out of 3. We just got to match what the Mets do because we hold the tiebreakers, and you'd be okay. But now they lost last night, and now coming into today, you got Skeens on the mound for the Pirates, and now their backs against the wall because Arizona scored 2 in the 9th inning last night to pick up the win over the Dodgers. So they are now a game back. The Reds went from 1st to 3rd. They lost 2 spots. They went from 1st place, in the third wild card, to behind the Mets, then behind Arizona when Arizona won that game late in the night by scoring 2 in the 9th inning. And now the Reds really have their backs against the wall today as they need a win desperately, and they're going up against one of the best pitchers in the game in Paul Skeens. But back to the Mets and the way that they won this game. Listen, give them credit, okay? It was they got big hits. Nimmo, I think, was the biggest home run. I mean, I know Alvarez was just as big. Listen, you didn't see that coming either. But Nimmo, when the Mets were down and they were dead, even after they got the 2 runs, they had the runners on. Pete, hit one off the ivy out in right field to get the thing going, and the error was made, and that really opened the door. And it was 5 unearned runs. It's the largest comeback the Mets have had all season. And like I said, will they carry over into today? Probably not. That doesn't mean the Mets can't win today. But will what they did last night carry over? I don't think it will, because it hasn't all season. We've been saying, okay, they're streaky, but these streaks don't last long. Sometimes they're streaky for 3 days. Sometimes they're streaky for a week. Sometimes they have a couple bad months. So you really have no idea. And that's what drives you crazy about this team. And just last night, the range of emotions you had. I mean, you were ready. I was done cursing at the TV with Peterson walking off the field in the 2nd inning of a big game in a big spot. And you're just thinking, you know what? Stearns was completely wrong about all these pitchers. Because you got Senga in the minors. Peterson's no good. Minaya has to be piggybacked with Holmes. And Montas is on the shelf. He wasn't right about any of the pitchers. He completely missed, 100% miss on this pitching staff. And then you get Diaz coming in the 9th inning after working 2 straight games, his 3rd straight game that he had to pitch, and he gave you 6 outs, and he just mowed them down. 5 strikeouts. He was as good as it gets last night, Diaz, right when they needed him to be. And that's not what we're used to as Mets when it comes to closers, including Diaz, is that when they need a big save, Diaz can turn it on at a moment's notice and basically just strike everybody out and overmatch everybody, and that's what he did. Now, when it comes to the Alvarez home run, there was a pitch there. It was 2-1. He got the pitch that looked like a strike. The pitcher didn't get the call. It went to 3-1, and then on the very next pitch, he got a fastball, that was out over the plate, and he crushed it. And the Mets relief pitching and the bullpen, as much as we've killed the bullpen this year, they were fantastic last night. They had to come in and they had to pitch 8 innings for this Mets team, and they did it giving up only 2 runs. Now, it was a sloppy game, okay? You had McNeil throwing the ball all over the place to first base. Two straight plays, consecutive plays, he throws it away. That's when you thought, like, all right, you know what? This team's just dead, right? I mean, Peterson comes in, gives up 5 runs. McNeil's throwing the ball all over the infield. The Mets aren't doing anything offensively. And the one that gets lost here was the Lindor leadoff home run. They got off to such a good start in the first inning that by the second inning, you're like, here we go. Soto's misplaying balls out in right field. I mean, that's an easy play. I don't want to hear the wind or whatever it is. That's a fly ball to the warning track in right field, and Soto butchers it. And then Peterson just unravels. McNeil's throwing the ball all over the place. The Mets are down 5 runs. They're dead and buried. And then they have the 5th inning where they get 5 runs. They tie it up. They take the lead. They give up the lead. And then, of course, Alvarez hits one into the seats out in left center field. And the Mets are able to survive with 2 innings from Diaz and just a fantastic win. They are now a game up on Arizona, a game up on Cincinnati. It's really only, but if you think about it, it's really only a half game because they can't tie these teams because they have to hold no tiebreakers. So they need to be a game better than both Arizona and Cincinnati when Sunday hits. Big game. Now tonight, you got another big game tonight, right? You got Tong going. How is Tong going to pitch? Listen, nobody knows. Nobody knows how Tong's going to pitch. No one knows, how they're going to do. But now we get to the kids, right? It's Tong. It's McClain tomorrow, who's being moved up a day. And then it's going to be Sproat to start the Marlins series down in Florida. So they got to, these 3 kids have got to come through. You need length out of Tong tonight. You don't have any bullpen, really. Now, luckily, you could probably throw Soto again, and you could probably throw, let's see, Brazaban's going to be out. He's not going to be able to pitch tonight. Stanek, you might get a little work out of. You could get Soto, who only pitched 2/3 of an inning, and Brooks Rally, and Helsley. And you don't want to see those guys, right? You want to see Tong go in there and throw 7 innings. Mendoza's got to let him go. Forget about the pitch count. Forget about everything. Season's on the line here. If the Mets can somehow get lucky and get Skeens to pitch a good game against the Reds and beat them, and the Dodgers beat the Arizona, the Mets will be 2 games up going into the final game in Chicago, and you feel really good. If you get a 2-game lead here at any point, you feel really good about your situation, especially if it's the Mets, since they need to be a game better. They can't have a tie when Sunday comes. So, listen, a fantastic win last night, as good as it gets, best win of the season. Peterson, you can't throw Peterson again. You don't want to see him pitch again. But as far as everything else goes, this is as good a win. 9 runs the Mets got. They were sloppy. They got to get the fielding together. You can't have Soto out there, just dropping fly balls or misreading fly balls. I don't want to hear about the win. You're a major leaguer. You're right field. You're in major league. You got to make that play. It's a fly out to the warning track. McNeil. Now they put Nimmo in center. So one of the reasons, obviously, was to get Marte's bat in there, but it was also to keep McNeil at second base, right? Because consistency, keep him at second base. You don't want to screw him around, throw him all over the place. And what does he do? He's got to make those throws. You can't be throwing the ball to first base all over the place and missing Alonso. He's not good enough to make those plays to save his infielders. You got to make the throws. And McNeil is a good fielder. He's a solid second baseman, but you can't make those plays like that. You're not going to be able to have these huge comebacks every night. You're just not. Big story tonight is going to be Tong and how long he can go. How many innings can Tong give you and stay competitive and keep the game close? This is a big one for the Mets because especially if you could almost eliminate a team if they go 2 games back here. And if they both lose, both Arizona and Cincinnati, then you could kind of feel really good about your situation here. Skeens on the mound. You got to figure he's going to give you a good outing. He knows it's a big game, not for the Pirates, but it's a big game for the Reds. And the Dodgers are a better team than Arizona, and they can win. They should have won last night. Diamondbacks got 2 in the 9th, but it is what it is. Listen, the Mets shouldn't have won that game either. The Mets are 1 game up on Arizona, 1 game up on the Reds, 5 to play. It's going to come down to the very end. And listen, the Mets are they're going to test your nervous system. A range of emotions last night. That was just the first of 6. And this team is not going to, trust me, they're going to be playing like this, games like this right until the end. Because they're maddening to watch, and they have been all season. And why are they going to change now? But the goal is to get in and still be playing when Sunday is over and still have life. And right now, the Mets control their own destiny. Magic number 5. Game tonight, 7:40. It's on ESPN. It's a nationally televised game. It's not on SNY. So you're going to get the ESPN crew. It's a huge game. You're going to obviously be keeping an eye on Skeens and the Reds. And later at night, the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers. So 5 left, folks. We're almost there. The home stretch. Mets with a lead. Huge win last night. Best win of the season. And, that's it for me. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow as we dive back into this, and we'll tell you what's going on and what happened. And we'll recap everything that happened tonight. So Mets win 9-7. Best win of the season. They're a game up. That does it for me. I'm Bob Walters. Don't forget, rate, review, and subscribe. Every little bit helps. Hit that subscribe button. Find us wherever you get your podcasts, on YouTube, social media, anywhere you can find us. Just type in Locked Up Sports into Google, and it will come up. So from the Brian Gunzel Studios, let's go Mets. See ya.